Hello, dear business sister. Welcome back to the Fabienne Show. Today, I want to chat with you about something that doesn't get said enough in the world of women's entrepreneurship. We talk about strategy, yes. We talk about scaling, yes. We talk about mindset, yes. But what we don't talk about enough and what no one prepared us for is how lonely this journey can feel, especially when you have reached a certain level of success that most people admire. It can feel really isolating. I'm guessing that if you're here, you have a thriving business. Maybe you're at six figures, multiple six figures, or seven figures. And yet, if you're being honest with yourself, it still feels like you're carrying the entire thing on your back. You are the one with all the responsibility. You are the one who solves all the problems, and you are the one who holds it all together. And even if you have a team, you still feel like it's all on you. And here's the thing most people don't realize: you cannot evolve into your next big level, that seven-figure version of yourself, without community. And I'm talking about real community, other business women, a feminine community. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. So let's start with the truth. If you were raised in the culture that praised independence, that applauded productivity, and that conditioned you to not be a burden, to not take up too much space, and certainly not to ask for too much help at the risk of seeming weak, then it makes perfect sense that you're doing everything yourself. This is the water that we swim in as women in business who have high ambition but don't want to be seen as weak. We were taught that success comes from solo effort and that it's somehow strong to handle it all by yourself, and that we must be the kind of woman who can raise the kids and lead the business and manage the team and sell the offer and respond to the emails and schedule the podcast interviews and show up on social media, and to do it all with a smile. And that is the masculine model. And while there's a time and place for masculine energy, I talk about the fact that masculine energy is very helpful for women. Everything that has to do with structure and discipline and being in action. The feminine needs to be there too. And the feminine, as I've discovered in the last 20 years, requires a different approach. Let me explain. Masculine energy, when you study it, is actually a solo energy. If you think about your male friends who have their own business, they are really about like self-competition, right? The feminine energy is a collaborative energy. It is one that thrives when it is surrounded with other women. And here's what I've discovered. If you want to evolve into your next big level, if you want more income and more freedom, more impact, more joy, if you want to have that feeling of more fulfillment, it will not come from doubling down on your masculine. It will come from expanding into your feminine power. Let me take this a bit further. There is an actual physiological reason why community is so important for us as women. I've been talking about this for at least 10 years. It's called oxytocin. Oxytocin is the hormone that gets released when we are in connection, when we're being held, when we're loved, witnessed, hugged, championed. It is also the hormone that gets released when we nurse a baby or sit down with a friend and just we're there for her when she's having a hard time, or she's there for us when we're having a hard time. And oxytocin is not just the feel-good hormone, it is also a safety hormone. It calms a woman's nervous system. It opens your heart and it lets you receive. But without it, if you're trying to do your business solo, you stay in overthinking mode. You spiral into self-doubt, like, is this really for me? Or I'm confused, or I don't know what to do next. and you get that brilliant idea, that divine download. You read a great book and you write down all of these ideas. And then a couple of days later, you talk yourself out of it because you're in isolation. This is a law that I've been studying called the law of diminishing intent. And it states that the longer you wait to act on your intuition or that idea that you had, the faster the inspiration evaporates. But when you are seen by other powerful, heart centered women, when you are surrounded by other women in business who have a big ambition, but also just like are really connected to themselves, when you are held in a community that reminds you of who you are, of your brilliance, when you share your ideas with other women and they don't think it's too crazy that you want to be at seven figures with, let's say, 14 weeks of vacation each year, that is when the internal permission to rise finally gets activated. Let me be real with you. The biggest lie that we believe is that we should be able to do it on our own. We tell ourselves, I should be able to figure this out by now. I don't need anybody. I've already done so much work on myself. Why do I still feel stuck? I just need more discipline. Maybe even your spouse tells you, like, you don't need a community. You don't need a mentor. You don't need to be around other people. Just buckle down, nose to the grindstone. More discipline, more time, a better plan. But you and I know deep down inside that that's not what's really going on. Because the thing that's keeping you stuck isn't a lack of strategy. You hear me saying this in almost every podcast episode. It's also a lack of being witnessed. You don't need more hustle. You need more holding. And I know that some people who listen to this episode say, oh, this is so woo-woo. This is so feminine. But I have to tell you, feeling held by a community of women also on the journey with you changes everything. Here's what I know for sure. You need to be in the room with other women who reflect back your brilliance, who tell you that your idea is not too crazy. It's actually the right one for you. Women who don't think that you're too much. Oh God, that brings up so much for me. Women who cheer when you win. Women who hold you when you wobble and you feel like you're having a really bad day. Women who remind you of your calling when you forget. They remind you of your gifts when you take them for granted. When you are surrounded by dozens of other women like this, that is when it all starts to flow again. That's when the ease returns, when the momentum comes back, and that joy of belonging reawakens. And I don't know about you, but when I've got a whole bunch of other people believing in me, whew, I start to believe in myself so much more. Obviously, this is moving me, but maybe this is moving you too, because I feel like we've been taught that it's not important to be surrounded with other women. But what I know from my own experience is when you are, you finally stop questioning your every move. And this is why I started my sisterhood. We call it Boldheart. That's the name of my company, and it's my signature program. But it's not just a program. It is not just about growing your revenue, although, of course, we do that in spades. It's about being in a sisterhood where it feels safe to be big. It's the anti-tall poppy syndrome that you may have heard about. It's where the strategies are paired with like this deep feminine support that we used to experience thousands of years ago before the patriarchy took hold. I hate to bring up the patriarchy, but I think it needs to be said. It used to be this way, women collaborating with each other. And this is a place where your nervous system healing and your shadow work and community celebration can coexist At the same time, with pricing models and marketing plans and scalable systems. This is what I discovered by accident. When you have a place where you can grow your business without losing yourself, where you get your evenings and your weekends back, and where you start being championed to take a lot more unplugged vacations each year, and you're praised for paying yourself like a CEO, like the CEO that you are, this is when you do so much more. This is true business growth the feminine way. And I want you to find a community like that for yourself. This is about finding a community of other women at 6 and 7 figures who believe in you. I want you to see that as a strategy, not something woo woo, not something like that's nice to have. Pay anything you can to be in a community like this. This is priceless for us. This is where, again, like being surrounded with other women who believe in us is a growth strategy. And so if you're nodding your head and maybe you're wiping a tear away like I have, whew, this is so moving for me. Maybe if you're whispering under your breath, that's me, Fabienne. You're talking about me. I doubt myself in isolation. I question my next big move. I forget sometimes what I'm good at. Then find that community. Obviously, I have created that community and I love Boldheart because it's everything I wish I could belong to. I have yet to find it anywhere else for myself in exactly the way I've built it. But if this speaks to you and you want to connect with me to talk about it, I invite you to reach out to me. I offer a get acquainted call with me, just you and me. And it is where I listen to you deeply. What's going on in your business? What's working? What's not working? And I will ask you a bunch of questions and I will help you at the beginning of our call map out your next big moves with clarity and strategy, but also with heart. I want to give you a roadmap for what it looks like to scale to 7 figures and a delicious life. But it's not just that. I want you to feel my heart. I want you to hear stories about women who are doing what most feel is impossible, and it's because they're doing it surrounded by other strong, ambitious, and heart led women. This is an opportunity for you to ask me questions about my sisterhood at Boldheart. If you want to, I will be happy to share with you what that looks like gently, open heartedly, and with all my heart. I know we might not have met yet. Cue the tears some more. We might not have met yet, but I believe in you. And I know that whether it's my community or somebody else's community that blends heart with oxytocin, I know that this is one of the keys to move to your next big level so much more swiftly than in isolation. So, if it speaks to you to speak to me, there is a page on boldheart.com that invites you to book a call with me. And the link is also in the show notes of this episode. And I think I just really want you to remember this, beautiful soul. You've heard me say this again and again, and I will continue to say it to you again and again. You were never meant to do this alone. And your next level is not going to come from more isolation. You know that in your heart. It's not going to come from more pushing and hustling and more white knuckling your way to the top. And frankly, I have a feeling that there's a part of you that fears that you will be alone at the top, but it doesn't have to be this way. It will actually come from being seen by other women that you feel safe around. It will come from being held and from being surrounded by women who see your magnificence just as much as you see theirs. Even on the days that you forget it. So, with tears in my eyes, find your people, dear sister. Find your source of power and let yourself be supported. It is safe now. I'm sending you all my love. Talk to you soon.